Good morning, everyone. You're welcome to the Pimbrook Software webinar on Sage 50 account tips and tricks. My name is Colin Sokoye, and I will be running through the webinar with you this morning. Just a bit of housekeeping. We have a large group this morning, so everyone will have to be on mute. If you have any question, please type it on the panel. If I don't get to you on this webinar, you will get a reply by email, or you can call the office on 051-395-900. We will also have some time at the end of the webinar for some questions and answers. Sorry, bear with me. These are our agenda for today. Some of them we are going to be discussing, and I will just be going through some slides. And the rest of them we will have to go into the software to see how they work. The first thing on our agenda is the automatic backup feature. This is a feature that was introduced in version 21. Up to today, when I'm speaking to customers, I see that a lot of people don't know that this feature exists. Now, this is something that you can use in addition to the normal daily backup that you guys make. The automatic backup feature is there in the background. It's working away. It's backing up your data. You don't have to worry about it. And you don't have to be logged out as well. If Sage is not open, it will still back up. Now, only manager can set up this feature. You have to be logged in as manager to see this feature. Once you're logged in as manager, if you go to File, you will see the scheduled backup and settings, and that will take you to this screen that we are looking at. It has three options there. The first one is to turn it off completely if you guys are not going to be using it. There's an option there to back up once per day. You can set it anytime, preferably maybe 5 in the evening when everyone is gone home, or 6 or 7, depending again what time is convenient for you guys. And there's an option there to back up for more than once per day. Under the normal schedule there, you see 1 hour, every 1 hour to back up, every 1 hour, every 3 hours, 6 hours, or 12 hours. So basically you can set it up to back up every 6 hours if you want to have more than one backup per day. On your right-hand side, you have the files to include. On a daily basis, the only thing that changes when you're using Sage is the accounts data. So that should be ticked basically for that to be backing up every day. But every 6 months or every 3 months, you can come in and tick all the other options just in case if you've archived your data, if you've created a customized layout or report. You can tick the options again every 3 months or 6 months, just so that they are backed up as well. On the bottom left-hand side, you've got the option there for all your companies. If you've got multiple companies, they will all come up at the bottom there, and you just need to tick the relevant ones that you would like to back up. Anyone you don't want to back up, just untick it. Once you tick your company, then you have the option there for Sage 50 OneDrive email notification and Sage 50 Microsoft Office 365. If your Sage is integrated with Office 365, you can set up these two options. Once the backup is on your OneDrive, OneDrive will send you an email notification to let you know that the backup has been done. And then we have the backup location, which by default should be backing up to your C drive. Now you can edit this and change it to any other location within your C drive. And then you have this server disk space. Now, By default, again, this will pick up 20 gigabytes. It can be adjusted. Just make sure you have enough space on your server, because if you don't have up to whatever gigabyte you've put in there, the backup will not happen. So it's important that you have enough space. If you don't have enough space, you can adjust it to like a 5 or 10 gigabytes. Is that okay? Now, we're moving on. The next thing on our agenda is remote access. We know the times that we are in now with COVID, everybody wants to know how to work from home. A lot of people are working from home. And basically, there are 4 ways you can work from home using Sage 50. The first one is called remote desktop connection. Remote desktop connection basically is a Microsoft remote desktop connection that allows a user to take control of their computer or any computer on the network, virtual machines over the network. This is what the screen looks like. It's a Microsoft application there. You know, every computer has got it. If you go at the bottom left side of your screen, there's a magnifying glass there. Just put in remote desktop connection, that will come up. Or if you go to start and all programs, you'll find it there as well. Now, in order for this to be, for you to be able to use this, you have to set it up on both the computer that you're connecting from and the one that you're connecting to. And to set this up, you find it in Settings, Systems, Remote Desktop, and there's an option there to enable remote desktop connection. And as you can see there, it has the computer name. All you just need to do is put in / the computer name, or / the IP address of the computer you want to connect to. Now, for more information on this, please consult your IT or speak to an IT person. The second way you can connect to Sage remotely is what we call VPN. It stands for Virtual Private Network. This is basically what VPN does is that it creates a smaller private network on top of a larger private network, basically. As you can see there, the screen there illustrates it. You've got your computer there, you're connected through a local network, and then, you know, you've got your internet, and then you're connected to the network in the office to your server. Now, one thing to mention, for you to be able to use VPN, the files or the network has to be shared. If it's not shared, you will not be able to connect to this. Applications, any applications you want to access through the VPN, it has to be shared. You can use VPN to connect to a printer in the office. Now, again, this is not something that we're going to go into deeply. Just consult your IT again. They can give you information on how or help you set this up. Now, there's one important thing to mention with VPN. VPN is not supported by Sage. It does not mean it doesn't work. It works, but it's just not being supported by Sage. The reason is that a VPN can crash or freeze, and if that happens, it can corrupt your Sage data. Again, I've seen a lot of people use it, but again, it's just something to put at the back of your mind. It's not fully supported, but it does work. Now, the third way you can connect to Sage remotely is applications such as AnyDesk or TeamViewer. Now, what are these applications? Basically, what they do is they provide independent remote access to your personal computer and other devices running the host application. So you can use this application to connect to your computer in the office. What can you do with these applications? For remote control of computers, you can use them for file transfers. They have VPN functionalities, desktop sharing. TeamViewer, for instance, you can use for online meeting. It even has a web conferencing feature or facility as well. Again, please consult your IT on all this. Your IT can advise you or help you set it up, or, you know, advise you basically if it's something that you guys can use. Now, the one we're going to be spending some time on is the one there from Sage. It's called the Remote Desktop Access. Used to be called Sage Drive. Again, this was introduced in V21. The important thing to note if you're going to be using Sage Drive is the requirements. Now, Sage recommends that you have a minimum download speed of 4 Mbps and upload speed of 2 Mbps. This is minimum for it to work effectively. Now, it does not mean if you have below that it's not going to work. It will still work, but it might be crashing quite often. So if you're going to be using Sage Drive, this is what we're recommending, that you have at least the minimum recommendation. To use Sage Drive again, you have to be logged into Sage as manager. Only manager can set this up. Once you log in as manager, you go to File. You will see an option for Sage Drive Setup. The moment you click on that, it gives you an option there that says, let's get started. And after that, you get the screen that we are looking at now. Once you put in your Sage ID, if you have one, if you don't have a Sage ID, you've got an option there at the bottom to create a new Sage ID. A Sage ID is basically an email address and a password. So you must have an email address and a password to use to create your Sage ID. Once you put in your Sage ID, it will ask you that this information will be kept for 6 months. Now, what will happen is that once you set it up and you start using it, after 6 months, you will get a prompt to put in those details again, your Sage ID and your Sage password, in order for just for security or for authentication. Once you put in the details there, it gives you an option there to create one more password called passphrase or encryption password. This has to be 15 characters. Once you create that, you click on the button there to upload the data, and then your data is uploaded to the Sage Cloud. Now, what Sage Drive is basically is a facility that Sage has, that allows you to share your data with remote users. So basically, you can set it up in the office, invite user, give them access, and they can access your data remotely using the Sage Cloud. Once everything is uploaded, you get a message there telling you successfully and congratulating you that the data is uploaded to the Sage Cloud. What this is doing is that a copy of your data is going from your computer in the office or from your server to the Sage Cloud. So it's constantly bouncing back, it's going to the Sage Cloud and coming back. You click on the management center there, and this allows you to give users access. So if I want to give anybody access to my data, which is on the Sage Cloud, for instance, my accountant or a remote user, you put in their name, put in their email address, and set them up as user. Now, bear in mind, anybody that you're giving access remotely, please set them up as a user. Now, for your accountant, you can all set them up as an accountant, but one thing they have to know is that accountant must be using ADM, which is Accountant Data Set Manager or Client Manager, if you're going to be setting them up as an accountant. If they're not using ADM or Client Manager, please set them up as a user. Once you put in the user's name, email address, you save it here. What the system will do is they will get an email telling them you've given them access to the data on the Sage Cloud. They can either activate their Sage ID or create one if they don't have one. Once they have that sorted, a Sage ID is created. They go to their Sage program, click on Add Company. You will get this 4 options. The last option there says Connect to Data on Sage Drive. You click on that and go next. It will ask them for their Sage ID. You go next. The companies that they have access will be listed. You go next, and then there comes the passphrase again. Now, this is the same passphrase that was set up by the data owner. So the data owner needs to give this passphrase to any remote user, including the accountant, because without this passphrase, they cannot access your data. They put in the passphrase, and then they will be connected to the data. Now, once they're connected to the data, it's important they go to help and about and have a look at this Sage Drive information. Now, the data owner where this was set up, or the server, now we say main, and you have a data set ID. The last time is communicated with the cloud. And then on the remote side, their site we say remote, the same data ID, and the last time is communicating. What this means is that anything the remote person is doing is going directly to the cloud, and then from the cloud is coming back to you. And the other way around as well. From your end is going to the cloud, and then from the cloud is going back to the remote owner. So, you know, you all can see what each other, you know, whatever you've entered. If I enter anything, remote user will be able to see it, and the other way around as well. Now, the next thing on our tips, on our agenda is the reporting tip. There is an option to integrate your Excel with Sage 50. Now, this is a very good tool for management. It allows you to pull reports from Sage. If you don't want to be logged into Sage, you know, or don't want somebody to have access to Sage, this is something you can set up from them to be able to pull down report or extract report from Sage. Now, the way this works is that once you have Excel and you have Sage installed, you should have this by default. There should be a Sage icon there that allows you to connect. Now, if it's not working, just give us a call, or if you don't have a Sage icon there, give us a call. We can always help you make sure that it's connected. As you see, the Sage application is linked to my Sage program. I can go select company, and if I've used this before, all the companies that I've connected to will be listed there, and I can select whichever one that I want to connect to. If it's a new setup, you go to add a company, and this allows you to browse to your Sage data directory to connect to the company. And once you're connected to the company, the next thing you will see is to put in your logon. Now, one thing to note here, a Sage user cannot have Sage open and use the same logon to connect to Excel integration. It's not going to work. So what we advise is that you should have a different logon for your Excel. So you could have a user called Excel, and then, you know, every other user have their own logon. So I can be logged in as myself and then use my Excel login to log into Excel integration. Once I'm in, all the reports, practically all the reports in Sage should be available to me. Now, there might be some reports that are not here. If there's any report that you need that is not here, please give us a call. We can always show you how to copy it and where to put it. So for the report, once you put it in the right location, close out of Excel, open it back again, the report should pop up in here. This is a sample of a nominal activity that I've just pulled out using Excel integration. As you can see, it's all looking good in a very good format. The format is slightly different to if you use the function send to Excel within Sage. The next thing on our agenda is AccountsMate. Now, AccountsMate is basically a tool that has been developed by Pimbrook Software. And what do you use AccountsMate for, basically? AccountsMate can be used to pull, again, report from Sage. Can be used to pull information from Sage. One of the features of AccountsMate is, for instance, you do not need an additional Sage license to run AccountsMate. You can use this to access multiple companies, and you don't need Sage to be installed on the computers. Now, once you have AccountsMate, it integrates again with your Sage program. It can allow for users, for instance, say warehouse staff, to pull information regarding stock levels, stock take, It can allow you to put those kind of information within your product and services module in Sage. It can allow credit control to pull customer information regarding chasing debt, balances, you know. It can allow reception, even administrative staff, to pull information from Sage, like staff name, your customer names, addresses, all those information can be pulled from Sage. So again, if you need information on this, please give us a call or send us an email. We can always come in and demo this for you. Now, for the remainder of our webinar, I will be logging into Sage to look at the option there, the filter option, the search option, department, chase debt, and cash sales. So if you bear with me, I'm going to share my Sage 50 program now. I hope everyone can still see my program. All right, the first thing we want to look at is the search and filter option. The search and filter option you can find in every module in Sage except for the bank module. What do you use this for? You can use this to find specific record or hide certain things you don't want to see in order to be able to pull a report. So if I go to customer, for instance, as you all can see, I've got a filter and I've got the search option there. I can say I'm looking for all the customers with balances. If I go into filter, I put in where balance is greater than 0.01. And once I apply this filter, the system will give me a record of all the customers that have got balances. Now, if I don't want to see all the ones that don't have balances, they will be hidden away. So what will normally happen, then I can swap all of the ones that I have and run my report. Now, there's a whole lot of criteria or field that you can use there, which is the second column there. I can, you can search for customer addresses. You can search for invoice date, for instance, if you are in invoicing and credits. Say you want to pull up an invoices that was done for a specific date. You put that in and then, apply your filter and all the invoices can come up. You swap them and then you can run your report. The next thing on our agenda is departments. Now, department in Sage is a very useful or great tool for analysis. It's a great way to analyze, break down transaction in Sage. Now, to see its departments, as you can see on the left-hand side, it's already pre-coded. All you need to do once you go into department, just click on the numbers and put in a name and save. You can have an example. For instance, I've got a nominal code here called County Leash. Now, I want to be able to break County Leash into areas. I go into my departments. I've got department 1 as Montrat. I've got department 2 as Strawberry. I could have another department here and call it Portleash. Now, what that means is that when I'm doing my invoices, I could be invoicing them and specify the specific department that I want that invoice to go to. And then what happens is that at the end of the month, at the end of the week, I can come in here and say, I want to see my sales just for Portleash, Strawberry. I highlight the Strawberry. I can go into the activity. I can run a departmental activity just only for Strawberry or only for Montrat. And that will give me the information that I'm looking for. Now, there's a whole lot of report as well on that report that you can run per department, departmental analysis, profit and loss, variance, and so on. Now, one thing to bear in mind, there's 2 types of department in Sage. There's the standard one and then the advanced one. If you're looking for in-depth analysis, your system needs to be set up to the advanced. And to get these settings, you are going to settings, company preferences. In company preferences, you're going to budgeting, and under the budgeting method there, you've got the two options, either set it to standard or advanced department. Again, if you're looking for something that's very, very, well in depth, you need to set your department to advanced. Now, there's a couple of settings there for department, default settings. You will find all of this under settings. If you go to settings, customer defaults, you will see the option there to set customer default, which means every customer that you're setting up in Sage will default to that particular department. But at the same time, you can go into your customer list, just double click on department and change it there if necessary. There's product default as well that can allow you to set up department for all your products. Again, you can double click on any product and change it in there. And you also have it for invoices and other defaults. Under update ledger, there's an option as well to update using customer department. Okay. Now, the next thing on our agenda is the option for chase debt. Now, chase debt or debt management is a great tool that allows you basically to be able to view your debt situation or the company debt situation just at a blink. In customers, for instance, at the top right-hand side, you have that option to chase debt. Once you click on that, it changes your view slightly. By default, it's on standard, but once you change this, it changes your view slightly. You see the headings there, there's a whole lot of information that you can enable. Now, at the top left-hand side, this screen can be customized. If I want to see only outstanding items, I can change that to show me the outstanding items. I can see the ones that are promised me payments. I can customize this if I just want to see those that are on dispute, and so on. So the view of what you see can actually be changed, or customized or changed depending on who is running in or what they want to see. Now, what will usually happen is that if you have a customer, for instance, so if I go back to here, that's my customer. Say this customer is owing us. I click on the customer, I go into the communication tab. There's an option there for add new entry. I call this customer, this topic was debt collection, for instance. I put in my information there, debt collection, the date that I rang, the person that I spoke to, the type of contact that was made. So I rang them by telephone, I put that information, the outcome, payment, for instance, say they promised me payment of €100, I put in the date and I put in the due date for that payment. The person that I spoke to, and I can start a countdown and save this. Now, as you can see, that information is in my communication tab. I can see that at a go. At the same time, if I come out of this screen, I can see the information as well. So I rang James, this company test on the today, the 30th of November. I spoke to James Blunt, overdue amount, and he's promised me payment. If I want to see more information on this, I can drill down on it and go back into the communication tab to view the details more. So it's a great tool that is in the system again that can help a lot with debt management. Now, the last thing that we want to look at today is the cash sales option. The cash sales option has been in Sage software again for a while. This is very useful tool for one-off transaction, especially if you're going to be raising a sales order. For instance, if all your invoices are coming or your system goes from sales order to invoicing and then the invoices goes out, you get a payment. So if somebody comes in and make everything at a go, you can basically use this cashiers option. And to demonstrate this now, say I go into my sales order, I go new sales order. And I save my sales order. Now, this is a once-off. I'm just going to say I'll allocate later. Now, this is a once-off transaction. You don't have the time to be doing one at a time. So what will usually happen is that for cash sales, if you open the sales order or before you save that sales order, if I go the cash sales option, you can see that straight away, the system is asking me, it's telling me this. I am going to complete the stock transaction. I'm going to do the invoicing as well as take the sales receipt. So you don't have to go in and be doing about 4 things differently. That means, complete your sales order, order the sales order, receive allocation, go to invoicing, update it, go to the cash customer receipt and do the customer receipt for the transaction. This basically we do all at a go. So if I say yes to this now, it's asking me now, the next thing now we get is this option here. I can say, no, I don't want to print all this. If you want to print, you can say yes to print it out. Okay, so as you can see, the sales order is completed. I didn't have to go through the option to allocate and dispatch the order. Look at the invoice. The invoice is completed. I didn't have to go through the task of posting the invoice. If I go to my customer account, customer activity, you can see that the invoice has gone in and the sales receipt as well has been posted, showing cash sales. So basically, this is everything completed at a go. I didn't have to go in and be doing them individually. So this is another great feature that's in the system that you can use. Now, one thing to mention with cash sales, when you want to use cash sales, it is important. We recommend that you have a different bank account for your cash sales. You don't want this to be mixing with your current account. It should go into a different bank account, and at the end of the day, you can do a bank transfer from that back into your current account. But with this going to a different bank account, what it does, it allows you to track the amount of cash sales that you have on a daily basis or weekly basis. To see that settings, if you go to settings, there's an option under invoice and other defaults. You're going to cash sales, and then you have the option there for default cash sales bank account. Now, there's a drop-down arrow. You specify the bank account that you want this to go through, and by default, you can leave it to always prompt you just to make sure that it's going to the right bank account. At that point, it will pop up, and then you can always change it. That's if you're using this second option to always prompt. If you default it, it will go straight into your cash sales bank account. So it's up to you, whichever you prefer. Once you have these settings, say okay, then you can now use the cash sales option. Is that okay? I'm afraid we've come to the end of our session. I'm going to go back now to our slides. So this is time now to take some questions. If anyone has questions, okay, I can see some already on the panel. Yeah, so if anyone has questions, please, you can go ahead and ask them. Just wait for 1 or 2 minutes, and then I'll start to answer all the questions that we had that's coming in so far. All right. The first question that I've got is somebody is asking, do I need a new license agreement to use the program remotely? No, your current license allows you to run Sage remotely. So you do not need to pay additionally to be able to use Sage remotely. Now, the second question I have here says, can you run a single user copy of Sage account remotely? Yes, you can. However, bear in mind, you have a single user license. It means it will only allow one person at a time. So if you have it open in the office, there's no way you can use it remotely. So that's something to bear in mind. The answer is yes, but bear in mind you have a one user license. Now, this is a very good question. Somebody asking me, do we still need to back up if we're using the automatic backup feature? The answer again is yes. Now, I did mention to you earlier on that you have the option for 20 gig when you're setting your disk space. Now, this is what we've discovered over the years, because this happens a lot. The automatic backup feature stops and customers are not aware of this. Now, the reason it's stopping most of the time is because they do not have enough space. And that's why we are recommending again that you reduce the disk space to, let's say, 5 gigabytes, or make sure that you and your IT are checking it, constantly checking it to make sure you have enough disk space. Like I was saying there, if you have 20 gigabytes, if you set your disk space to 20 gigabytes, that means you must always have more than 20 gigabytes for the system to back up. If you have anything less, even if it's just a couple of kilobytes or below the 20 gigabytes, it will not back up. You know, so bear in mind again, that's something there that you guys need to discuss with your IT. Make sure you have enough space. Now, I've got another question here saying, do I still need to back up if I'm using Sage Drive? The answer is yes. Now, Sage is not selling Sage Drive as a backup facility. No, we know that a copy of your data is quite all right on their cloud, but it's not a backup facility. So Sage still advise and recommend that you back up on a daily basis. So it's not a backup facility. Please always do your own backup as well, because if anything happened to the Sage cloud and you don't have a backup, that is your data gone completely. And the last question I've got here is, where can I find the Excel folder? I've got some customers report that I want to show in the Excel integration. Okay, by default, your Excel integration folder is stored in your C drive. I've just called out it directly, depending on the version of Sage that you are using. Now, bear in mind, it's always the latest folder. So it's C, program data, Sage, accounts, the latest year. If you're using 2020 then or 2019, then you go into 2019, company.000, reports, and there should be a folder there called Excel. Now, in this Excel folder, if there's any customers report or report you want to see, just put them in this Excel folder. Like I said earlier, if you close out of your Excel, go back into Excel, that report should pop up then. Is that okay? Yeah. This is our contact information, yeah? Our phone number, 0513959000, support@pimbrook.ie. If you have any questions, any query, or anything at all, please, you can give us a call or send us an email. Thank you all for your time, and that's the end of the webinar for today. Thank you very much.